So I don't know if we've ever talked about this directly, like specifically. Um, I I think we're both cussers, like relatively good cussers, so to say. I wonder what people's definition of a good cusser is. I don't really know. But well, there's a couple of videos that sparked this conversation, but I will start with, do you remember the first time that you cussed? Or even before then, like what was your exposure to cussing and like what were your restrictions? Like in regard to like what was for sure off limits or whatever the case may be, because all households are different, so I don't want to assume that everything was off limits, so to say.
I did not grow up. I do remember the first time I cursed. I did not grow up cursing. I grew up around cursors. But I took that not so much as like vulgarity, but like adult language.
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I was like, I don't talk like this because I am not an adult.
yeah,
If I do talk like this, I don't talk like this around adults because I am not an adult. So I grew up with everything under the sun, either said in the household, around the household, from the media I consumed, but I didn't repeat that. And I knew better to not repeat that. I don't know
right.
what my consequence was, but I knew it was one. And I was like, nah, I'll be compliant. So yeah.
Talking about I'll be winter soldier for sure when it comes to cursing. um, yeah, I don't know if I remember the exact. I don't know if I remember the first time that I cursed or the first time that I cursed around adults and whether I was an actual adult or not. Um, but it was kind of like a similar upbringing. But the thing was, I had two different sides, right? Mom's side, mom's family didn't really cuss, exception of my auntie. Auntie was, you had to know my auntie. I don't know how else to explain it, but lovely. Just caught her if you got on her bad side, or if you caught her on the right night when she was feeling good, you know what I'm saying? You see some words fly. But that was really it, like on my mom's side. Dad's side, though, heard everything in the book, right? Like, and it was just a matter of like, yeah, definitely don't repeat it. Like, act like you're not hearing it, basically, but is what it is. So the exposure was early, but I don't think I never had a conflict or like I never had a weird relationship with it. Like kind of like to you, I never really understood it like I understood the difference between like profanity and like, some being vulgar. Like it wasn't like disgusting. Like it was just like it's profane. Like it's not language children should use. But I mean, hell, I was watching BET Uncut. Like I've seen everything else on TV anyway. Watching rated R movies. So it was like it was there. Like it was never really I don't know. And I guess I don't know if it was even really considered like taboo either. Like, but nonetheless, uh yeah, I didn't become like I became more of a habitual cursor in college. I don't even think in high school like I was that much
Oh,
of
no,
it.
I didn't curse in high school.
Yeah, but like in college it just kind of I don't know, it just happened. I just found my own way. But one story I remember is I would always go work out with my older cousin like in the evenings and he's shoot he got some years on me, somewhere between 10 and 15. I don't remember his actual age right now. Sorry, cuz. But we but we was I remember I asked him one day, I asked, how do you cuss? I was like, how do I determine like when to say a word? Like when is it necessary to use the word? And I remember he was just like, I mean, you just kind of like feel it out. You know what I'm saying? He was like, you don't got it. Like, don't just be saying words to say it. Like, don't just be throwing it at the end of a sentence just to have a curse word there. Like, you'll get your own rhythm with it as time goes on. And I was like, hey, but I feel like that's what happened because I don't even know how you learn how to do it outside of just what you hear for real.
That's a good point. I don't know that I ever looked for the tutorial or like a FAQ sheet on profanity. I remember it was either fifth grade or seventh grade. I don't remember the grade, but it was one of those two. And we were in the lunchroom, and I think we had like fish nibblers or some shit for lunch. Like it was, I don't think they should have been serving it. And I remember looking down and processing out loud, and I said, "What the shit is this?" And Lawrence, right? And he was like, "What did you say?" And I don't even know if I repeated it or not, but he repeated it, and he was like, "Who curses like that?" And I'm thinking, like, none of us curse. What are you talking about? Like, who made you profanity police? But I remember being shamed into that being wrong. And then fast forward later in life, I remember somebody in my family saying like, "What the shit?" And I'm like, "Oh, I just repeated it," but that to me doesn't make any sense now. But that was the first time that I cursed, and I was like, "Okay, well, I guess I tried that out, and it wasn't for me." But I got to college, and buddy, the word wasn't in my vocabulary. So yeah, I don't know. Bring back bullying. Like it worked for me.
So, nah, truly. But so what sparked your interest in that first video in regard to like the cussing being like, what was it? Like that
The like
people curse
authentic
or
self or something.
yeah, yeah,
Um, I do think there is a line. Like every word that comes out of your mouth does not have to be a curse word. Like there are so many words in the English language, and you choose the same seven, that concerns me. I think that shows your while that communication could be effective, I think it does show your literary levels. I think that's a nice way to say it. Um, but there's nothing wrong with cursing. I for the longest time would not curse in front of my students. I would not curse in front of a supervisor. I would not curse in front of my mom. I still don't curse in front of my mama. Brandy does, not to throw her under the bus. And I might say like ass or damn in a conversation and not realize my mom is right there, but I still feel at 35 like, ooh, I shouldn't have said that.
yeah.
Uh,
I don't cuss around, read it. I don't do that.
yeah, but no, I have to exist authentically. And if this is how I'm processing stuff, I went to dinner with my manager a couple weeks ago and I said something and just threw in a curse word and I was like, oh, it feels great. I didn't feel like I was tempering myself to exist.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's real. I definitely agree with the mom point, but I still find myself kind of being cautious of it, like in certain settings, like work settings and stuff like that. But also because I don't feel like I'm putting on a facade per se, but I just feel like if I let things slip in the way that I would talk like in the comfort of my own home or in the comfort of certain groups of people, the the perception of me would completely change. And I'm just like, I mean, it's me, but also two things can be true. Maybe that's not the me you need to necessarily, meet, be aligned with, whatever the case may be. You don't want to meet that me, but he's still there. He exists. He's very much present. He's just taking a nap right now while we in this meeting. But yeah, no, that reminds me. I think a lot of people are be surprised with my mom because I mean, she don't curse to curse, but like she knows these words. She used them from time to time. I'll never forget. It was one time this was in undergrad. I was on the phone with my mom and I was with Marshall, my anchor, not Green. But she was saying something and she called me a nigga. And I remember Hank was just like, I'm like, nah, y'all be thinking she nice. That's the thing. She really be duping y'all. Like y'all be thinking she nice, sweet lady, which she is, but now I'm a nigga. Now you see what's going on here. Now you see what's happening. Sorry, mom. But I digress.
Well,
But
since we're on the parent train, real quick, my mama is not necessarily a cursing woman, right? She has other words that she so chooses to use, but she's not a stranger to profanity. But you get to the point where like you get older, so you're an adult. That means your parent is older, and you don't go like, "Oh, this is Miss So and So," like So it's just like, "Oh, now you meeting friends in college, like." How do I introduce you? I'm like, oh, it's my mama, but like she don't have a name. And I remember she met Frenchie. And I was just like, this is my mom. I'm like, "Ooh, are we old enough for like first name? Like, how does this go?" And she said, I don't care what you call me, just don't call me a bitch. And he thought that was the funniest thing in the world. And he was like, your mama funny as hell. And I'm like, that's real. I don't care what you call me, but don't call me out my name.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I was like, okay, she ain't wanting to use the B word too often. So I
Right.
was,
Like, you just drop one in there every now and again. It's just
yeah, now I use that as her introduction to people sometimes. Not all, for real. Like if it's a Frenchy type person, like, oh, it's my mama, like, oh, Dana, but you say what, call her what you want to, just don't call her a bitch.
my mom don't want to be called ma'am. I don't even know if she want to be called Mrs. Every time I try to show some respect, she's like, "Why are you calling me ma'am? What's up with this?" I'm like, "All right, Rita, like we can stay here. I'm perfectly fine with this." but but no, just last thing on the kind of like cursing, but also like kind of the family thing too. There was another video you sent that wasn't so much about the cursing, but it was more so about the idea of cursing being an example that was used to, I guess, kind of outline a double standard or hypocrisy, so to
Mhm.
say. Short context, it was an excerpt from Michael Todd's appearance on The Breakfast Club. And I'm not sure how they got on this topic specifically, but yeah, in so many words, he was using the idea that like, maybe you can explain it better too, but like our parents, like cursed around us, but then didn't want us to do it, even though they knew we were doing it. And then we in turn are like more than likely to treat our children the same way. And that he was alluding to hypocrisy in that regard and making it a larger or feeling like it should be a larger conversation amongst the black community. But what I do know is that you think it's a reach and you strongly disagree. So why do you strongly disagree?
Not to pull a Kiki Palmer, but sorry to that man. I don't know who Michael Todd is. Never seen him before this video, so everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But in this regard, Michael Todd may as well be Mr. Incredible because that man was stretching with that. The fact that he said this hypocrisy was built around us cussing in front of our kids, but then not wanting our kids to cuss in front of us, and this is breeding generational trauma. So when they are in need, they're not gonna come to us. You had to pull your back out stretching that far because what the hell are you talking about? Like, I think it's a respect thing. I
Yes.
don't think that a 7-year-old, a 14-year-old, arguably a 17-year-old needs to be going around, fuck this, fuck that, hey, shit, hey, make me some damn chicken. Like, what? Hold on. Like, learn how to speak English first,
Yeah.
right? There's so, like I said, so many words in the English language. Formulate a full sentence and a full thought. I don't think that has anything to do with it. How you talk to your friends is not the same way you talk to your parents. How you talk to your parents is not the same way you talk to your supervisors, right? There are different ways to communicate with different people. So that's what that is. But the reach was that now because of this double standard and hypocrisy, now when your child is in need, they're not gonna come to you because they don't feel comfortable because there's a double standard in that. What? I don't get that. In the clip that I saw, maybe the full interview explained it, but Mr. Todd, I don't get what you're saying.
Now, for context, it's funny that you don't know who that man is, because for context, he's a pastor, and he had I feel like he had a rise of like people that were really kind of like gravitating toward him in a sense of just like feeling like he was, a good pastor. And then he had a stretch of moments that just made people feel away because I feel like, and I'm just kind of like summarizing. I feel like people thought that he was basically taking the way that he would try to get a message across too far. Like he became like super visual and how he tried to get his messages across and just had a few instances where it's like, this is too much. Just stick to the like you don't gotta make the pulpit a theater to get the word to people. So that's like kind of who he is and how he's perceived in a nutshell, in my opinion. So the reach is funny and somewhat fitting because I would imagine that some people might be comfortable saying that he tends to do that in his ministry sometimes, not criticizing, not getting into the weeds of that, just saying perception of him and his actions and what he's done. But yeah, I completely agree that I don't really get the hypocrisy argument. I don't really get this idea that they're not like that children wouldn't feel comfortable coming to us because I think that one, that comes down to parenting and how open you are with your child as they develop. I don't think that boils down to whether they can curse or not and know about it. Now, granted, if y'all have that type of relationship and you ease them into certain words, but they understand when to use them or whatever, that's your choice as a parent, right? And if a parent doesn't want their child to do that, they have every right to do that as well. But yeah, it comes down to respect and really the point you made about knowing how to speak to different people in different situations. That's really all it comes down to. Because even if you have the okay to use that language, it's not okay to use as adults. It's not okay for all of us to use that language in certain capacities. So it's really no different from the standpoint of understanding, place and time, when and where. So yeah, like you said, the way that he tried to, Space Jam Michael Jordan, his way for that one. eh,
Yeah, it's like you have to teach situational and spatial awareness.
yeah,
And like I can curse up a storm all day long. Like I said, I didn't do it in front of my niece and nephew for the longest time. I didn't even smoke in front of them. I didn't roll up in front of them. They didn't see any of those things.
right,
It happened. It was still going on, right? I was existing as an adult, but a 7-year-old doesn't need to know what's going on, right?
right.
So if I don't think that my child can pass a spelling bee, you can't spell mentality, but you want to say fuck this shit, I have a problem with that.
No, and it'd be crazy because they really don't be know how to spell nothing,
They don't.
but it be speaking to like they don't need to like obviously like you don't need to know how to spell to know what you hear. Like it's very easy to hear something like and repeat a word, that you hear. Children are sponges. We hear this all the time, right? So and the thing that I was just thinking about, and I guess I feel like this is a really good close to this part of the conversation, but like I truly understand that grown folks business is a thing. And not just from the standpoint of like trying to alienate children from experiences, but like there are things that children don't need to see, don't need to experience, no, don't even need to be exposed to without context. And there's a place in time. Now, some people do get exposed to things earlier than ideal, and you navigate that. But in an ideal world, in a situation where you have in a controlled environment, I should say, yeah, why would why would they see that? Why would they need to be around that? Why would they need to hear me saying that just for them to either one go and use it without context or knowledge, and then that still fall on me as the adult, and two, it kind of goes back to your Benjamin Button point because because it's like they don't know. And I feel like even when you do have that knowledge, it just increases the responsibility, which you still don't know if a child is able to handle. Because how much responsibility in life, like, are you giving a child with anything? Like, how long are we waiting until we even are comfortable letting children stay at home? So while we look at that, while we look at how they use words and what they're exposed to in that regard, any differently than something like that, which I don't even think we would be having the same in-depth conversation about,
Right.
kind of deal. So yeah, grown folks business makes sense. I get it now, ma. I understand.